Alright, welcome back everyone to another video for Midian Gaming, and today we are looking at Vampire the Eternal Struggle. We've got a lot of players coming into the game, and probably the hardest thing, just like with any game, is, well, how do I build a deck? So that's what this video is for. It's for those new players getting into the game, wondering where to start and how to start. So this is not a rushed video. This is something that you need to find some time, sit down and spend that small journey with me in regards to my ideas of helping you just jump straight in. And today we're going to be doing that with the Nosferatu deck, okay? So yeah, when you've got the time, let's sit down and let's start by switching over to the next screen, okay? Okay, so you'll see there I've got the Amaranth screen up, and I've put in the whole deck for the Nosferatu into this. So we've gone through another video with what's in this deck. Let me just go through some measures with you regarding this deck. Now, if we're not going to change the vampires, you not worry about them. The ones that you're really looking for are the ones that have, well, let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4. These are your main 4 vampires, so we'll just take a quick look at them. Now, the pictures don't load on these, but this one's got +1 bleed. Very important. Like, this is the vampire that I'd be looking for in my opening crypt. This one has, during a bleed action, you can discard a card requiring animalism to get +1 bleed. This helps you cycle through the deck where you need it, but you might not need that much recycling. That will depend. So I would definitely be going for Lenny Burkhead first and then Moira. The Dalga is pretty good because +1 intercept on directed actions, and I'm going to be talking more about the deck in regards to that. And Belind is a Prince of Copenhagen, giving you some boat defense. You might not need it at the table, but goodness happens if there are boats coming on the table, maybe you want to jump in there with the Prince, and that will give you some voice at the table. Now, Wanaka is just Camarilla, Horus, Camarilla. So these ones don't have any abilities. I believe they're more in there just to get the numbers into the deck, because you're bringing out 6 costs all the time, and these will help get you other ones. If you are after maybe switching the deck up and making sure you've got more chance of getting these 4 vampires in, we make it very easy through Midian Gaming on our website to get those, because we've broken open a lot of packs and made a lot of singles, so you don't have to go be buying 2 of these or 3 of these in order to get the cards that you want. You can just buy 1 of these, which you can also get on the site. You don't have to buy the 5-pack if you don't want to, and go on there. So as you'll see, we've made this a lot easier. Now, the deck revolves around being very annoying for your prey and for other people at the table, in so far as you're getting various cards out, and that will be coming round to them as well. So you make yourself a target very early on. Now, with this game, no matter how good your deck is, if the table turns on you, there is probably a 90 to 95% chance, even closer to 100, that you are going to be possibly the first, second one out on the table. Depends on how quick they turn on you. So you need to be careful not to come out of the gates running, and unless you've got the vamps on the table and looking at the rest of how the table's set up, not making yourself that target. You want someone else to be the target and then lay down the trap for them. People have already invested too many resources in doing other things on the table. Now, it is very hard. There's a lot of politics involved. But let's go through this deck and see exactly what it does. Now, the master cards that it has, would we take any out? We possibly would, but let's take a look at them. Like, Fame will get you a vampire, hopefully a prey that you can put this on, and when you dunk that vampire, they lose 3 pull, and everyone starts losing pull around you after that. It's a good one. Potentially you could do without it, but it is a nice one to have in the deck. Guardian Angel gives you +1 intercept. Now remember, this deck is all about laying down threats on a table and protecting them. You do not really want your vampires in a turned position. Yeah, you want them face up and ready to defend anything that people come over to attack. And they will attack stuff because it is affecting them, and you want to be ready because you're a combat deck. And invariably, combat decks don't win a lot of tournaments, but if you balance them correctly and bring it back more to what we call a toolbox deck, doing a little bit of everything, and that's why those vampires at the beginning, why I talked about them, Lenny, +1 bleed, and Larissa, +1 bleed. You can't have a strategy of just dunking your praise vampires and then trying to win that way, because you'll waste too many resources on one. Vampires like this need to give you another way of winning, and that +1 bleed is so effective comparative to what we're going to add to the deck as well. Guardian Angel gives a +1 intercept during bleed actions against you, so trying to defend against the bleeds as well as your property on the table. This is great. It prevents 1 damage in combat, so when you're in combat, most likely other clans are not going to be doing that much damage, and even if there are, it's going to be 1 less. Yep. Alright, Haven Uncovered, very good. You can put that on a vampire. If you put Fame on the vampire, then you throw Haven Uncovered. You've got free actions to just go and attack that vampire. Fantastic. They can burn the card, but then they're doing something else as a D action, yeah, which you can potentially block. Labyrinth gives you +1 stealth. So when you're going to get various actions, which we'll come to in a moment, it's not too bad. Labyrinth is pretty good. It's probably not something I'd want to take out because I'd want to get these things off. I don't want people stopping them because that's going to stump my game, yeah? Alright, so Rebel, this is one that I'd probably take out. Let's take a look at it. Put this card in a vampire you control once per turn when this vampire successfully blocks a titled vampire. So it's not just blocking any vampire, it's blocking a titled vampire. That's another condition I can do without, yeah? Blocks the titled vampire or a political action. He or she gains 1 blood from the blood bank before the resulting combat. If any, a vampire can only have 1 archetype. Now, one thing about this deck is that you need to get blood back into your pool after you've spent on vampires, because there's going to be a lot of combat and you're going to be moving blood around. Now, there are other ways of doing it, and I don't think Rebel's the way to do it. It's a good card that they've put it in there. Personally, I would be taking it out and replacing it, and we'll look at that in just a moment as well. Smiling Jack the Anarch. Now, this is the one that's going to get the table against you. Be very careful when you bring this out and how you defend it and what the state of the table is, because this can kill you as well. So during your unlock phase, move 1 counter from your pool to this card, but as it's going around the table, the amount of counters on that card is the amount of pool each person loses. So you're losing 1 per turn, but everyone else is losing what's actually on that per turn. So you're really setting yourself up to be a target, not someone like that at a table. And they may start coming across to do a D action to remove this. You've got to decide when you defend it, and that's putting a lot of pressure on your prey along with other cards that are coming up. So let's go take a look at more of these. Slum Hunting Grounds. Look, this will give you a blood every turn. Very good. Honestly, I would want more than 1 in the deck. Now, do note that there's 77 cards in this library. You can have up to 90 cards in Vampire. So you've got another 13 to work with. I would put a second Slum Hunting Ground in for sure. Okay. Vessels. Now, Vessels are good for moving. 1 blood from this vampire to their pool, or from your pool to the vampire. So you can start shifting blood around where needed. Maybe they've got enough that you can put it back in your pool to defend yourself, or you can feed the vampire 1 blood to actually help with the next turn's actions. If you've got that Guardian Angel with you, you're preventing 1 damage as well. So it all helps in that way. Now, Warsaw Station, I was wondering whether to actually keep this, but this is a fantastic card. Take a look at this. You can lock this card as a Nosferatu announces an undirected action. Undirected are the actions that we're going to look at next. If that action is successful, unlock the acting Nosferatu. Remember, I said that you want to be ready. You want to be unlocked. You don't want to be locked and thereby having trouble defending what you have, whether that's pool or cards on the table. So this is a fantastic card. You know, there's only 1 in the deck at the moment. I'd be putting a second or even a third one in. It's that important. It is a unique location, so you can only have one on the table at the same time, but too important not to have. Yeah. All right, let's get into the actions before we start looking where those cards are coming from, okay? Just to give you an idea of exactly where this deck is going. Deep Song. Now this one's dual use card, bleed with +1 bleed. Very good, giving you another way to win the game without dunking vampires. If you're going to spend all your resources in dunking the other vampires and then trying to bleed them out, the rest of the table is going to turn on you and try and stop you doing that by applying pressure in other means which will slow you down. Now this Frenzy, enter combat with and lock a vampire, very important. That target vampire is considered the acting minion in that combat. What that means is they have to play their cards first and you get to decide how you're going to react to their combat cards that they've played. You may keep them, you may throw some more cards down just to cycle the hand, it's up to you. So it's quite a good card in that respect. Preternatural strength, you know, when you're entering, look, put this card on the vampire. This vampire gets +1 strength. He or she cannot play Torn Signpost. Vampire can only have 1 preternatural strength as above. And this vampire gets +2 strength at superior. So pretty good, setting yourself up to be a scary thing on the table that not many people will want to mess with. Playing this means you don't need those Torn Signposts. You can't play them if you have this card, but you're always going to have the strength and you don't need to go looking for a card. Torn Signpost helps me cycle cards as well, but maybe it's allowing other things to go into the combat section. All right, and Creeping Sabotage. This, so you pay X, it's a +1 stealth action. X is the number of Creeping Sabotages you control. So the first one will 0, so you get to play it for free. The second one will cost 1, the third one will cost 2, and so on. Sorry that there's not a picture on this. During your unlock phase, your prey burns 1 pool. Any minion can burn this card as a D action. So anyone can burn it, but you're paying a little bit of pool and they're losing. How many of these have you got on a table that they're losing the pool, forcing them maybe to go backwards and for you to defend that and to start smashing their vampires at the same time, going off and bleeding with them as well. This is where we're going to concentrate with the Creeping Sabotages. There's other ways to do it through Animalism as well, but this one does it through Creeping Sabotage. So with that, we would probably increase this number. We've got 4 in the deck at the moment in that base deck. Probably increase that to 6, 7, even 8 potentially, yeah? If you've got that, now it was Warsaw, was it Warsaw? Yeah, Warsaw Station on the table and you can do your Creeping Sabotage. Fantastic, especially if you've got the vampires to do them. They unlock and are ready to defend. Now, while we're looking at this and we're starting to think about replacing cards, I am going to go to my website, MidianGaming.com.au. We'll go to card games, Vampire CCG. Now, I have set this up thinking about the player in mind. When I go to a store, what's my experience going to the store? I've opened up the Vampire CCG. You've got your sealed product there, which you can go into the sealed product. Very easy, just like any other store. I've got singles though. So up here, you'll click on singles and I've got the cards sectioned into crypt cards for your vampires and library cards. Let's go into the library cards because we want to look at master cards, and lo and behold, at the top I have spent the time and effort to actually put the library cards into various action, combo, political action, action modifiers, equipment, and so forth. So we'll just go to master cards. So when we're looking at the master cards in this section, you know, you might want to take out the Guardian Angel with the +1 intercept. It's up to you. You know, have we got any other equipment coming up? Look, when we look at this, we don't see any equipment, which might be something that we want to change. You might want to keep the Guardian Angel, Rebels coming out, you know, whether we keep Smiling Jake the Anarch or not, or whether we're just adding more cards. We can go into Master. And another aspect of this, we've got 40 cards showing, just change it to 100. So you've got as many cards on the page as possible. And then down, as you can see it here, it's good for if you just know what card it is that you want and you're buying. But we're going to shift this to maybe 3 across over here. or even 2 across if you really want to read what's on the card. Yeah, we'll do 3 across for now, and then we're going to start looking at the art. So we're looking at cards that don't require any symbol here other than a Nosferatu symbol. So as we're going down, we've got 1, Anarch Troublemaker, probably not something that we're looking to play. Animalism, no. Asher Tablets, we're not going with the Asher Tablets at this time. The Barons, here is a card that you need to have in the deck, okay? You can do a quick view on this. We'll give you how many is in stock, but you can read the card more effectively. Lock to discard a card. Now, we're in a combat deck. We don't want to be holding cards. If we've got no Creeping Sabotage and we've got nothing to do in our turn, and people are not getting into combat with us and we can't cycle our cards because we can't play them, Barons is the way to go. If you don't have a card like this, you're only getting rid of 1 card per turn. Barons will allow you to get rid of that extra card and maybe pull out some more master cards or some other cards such as action cards that you can do other things other than trying to bleed and hoping that they block. You know, a bleed for 1, people are most likely going to allow through if it doesn't affect them and if they're gaining blood through other means. So the Barons, definitely something I'd be looking to put in this deck. 2 of, okay? As we go down, Bless Resilience, move a vampire in your ash heap with superior, no, nothing for us there. Blood Dolls, you can use these. Do understand that other cards such as, I believe it is Verlaine, will destroy Blood Dolls. The great thing about Blood Dolls is that they don't cost anything, so there's no cost to them, and you can move 1 blood from this vampire to their pool or vice versa immediately after playing the Blood Doll. So very versatile in that respect. We're going to stay away from the archetypes for now. Channel 10 will give you +2 intercept, not usable on the first action. So if you can block out the first few actions or the first action, Channel 10 will give you +2 intercept on their next action, whatever they're doing. So if a vampire needs to hunt, that's their first action, you might allow the hunt, but now if they need to go backwards to actually get your Creeping Sabotages or affect the Anarch Trouble, or not Smiling Jack the Anarch, then you've got that +2 intercept, very hard to get past, yeah? Right, what else have we got? We've got Coven, lock to add 2 blood to any ready vampire you control. During your discard phase, your predator takes control of the Coven. Look, that's a quick way to get some pull, but then it's going to your predator. Creepshow Casino, pretty good one. Lock as a vampire you control announces an undirected action to give that vampire +1 stealth, even if stealth is not yet needed. Very good card. Really, I would be sticking to the Barons. Dreams of the Sphinx is another good one. Put this card in play, add 1 counter to this card each time and lock it. Lock to get +2 hand size. Remember, we're trying to move cards, we're trying to see more cards. Another very good card. It is costing you resources though, and Outer Library gives you +1 hand size. So these are the cards, the master cards I would be thinking. When you're looking at a deck like this, you're looking at about 15 or 16 master cards. So when we look at this, we've got 12. So we've got room for about 3 or 4 master cards, honestly, if we're going to take this deck up to 90. All right. So with the actions, we can go back and start looking at some other actions. Like I said, you can increase those numbers. Just click back on library cards up here and go to actions. And this is how I am creating the deck, seeing what's available, what I can use. So let's bring it back to, I don't know why it hasn't stayed at 100, but we'll shift it back to 3 across. Now you've got ambush there if you're wanting to get into combat with the various vampires. You know, you've got a few things. Here's the army of rats. This is what I was talking about. Oh, no, we don't want to go there. We want to go with the quick view. So I'll just do that again. Apologies. Quick view. Now, if you're not doing Creeping Sabotages, you can go a cheaper route, +1 stealth. Put this card in play. During your unlock phase, your prey burns 1 pull. You can only burn 1 pull each turn with Army of Rats cards. Any minion can burn this card as a D action. So a cheaper way to do it, but you can only get 1 out. But I would be throwing about 3 or 4 of these in the deck as well if you're going that Creeping Sabotage route, to be quite annoying for your prey, yeah? There's not much they can do about it unless they want to come backwards. in doing that, they may find an ally in your prey or someone across the table from them that might help them out. So it's just something that you need to think about. What else would I do when looking through this? Knowing the various cards that are up on the website. Look, I'd be getting some more creeping sabotages. This is a view that we didn't have before. X is the number of creeping sabotages in play. And is there another one? Look, the Embrace is pretty good. Creates a 1 capacity vampire. If you're doing this, you will want to go look for putting maybe Animalism or Potence Master cards in the deck as well. Right, so this just today is an idea of how I am building the deck. Now you should have some idea at this point that we've tackled Masters, actions. We're looking at how many cards it is to take us to that 90 cards and what we're taking out. Let's just take a look at the rest, all right? So action modifiers, they've only got one type of card in here. It's Lost in Crowds, +1 stealth. Or if you've got a superior, +2 stealth. It's pretty much all that's really needed. You're only using them to get those cards out and to cause a problem for the people. You can use it for the bleeds, but I would save these cards if those bleeds are going to really push home the fact that you're going to oust them from the table and get yourself a point and another 6 pull by doing so. Do not waste those Lost in Crowds. Probably another 2 to 3 in this deck would be viable. Combat cards. Look, I wouldn't change this up too much. Too many combat cards, unless you're cycling really well and getting other cards that you want and it's really helping you. But you've just got to be careful and make sure you've got other things going for you as well. So Carrion Crows, very good card, providing 2 damage. The worst thing that you see as a fighting deck is an opponent that has the ability to just play a combat ends or maneuver and stay away from you. Like if you're able to keep it short, Immortal Grapple will ensure that they do not play any combat ends cards. There are other cards that can be played, so it's just something to be looked at. Taste of Vitae, yeah, very good card. Get blood back for the damage that you've done, especially if you're doing increased amount of damage. You might be hitting for 3 damage and you get that back with the Taste of Blood. And the Roundhouse, pretty good card. Needing Potent, strike at +2 damage and strike hand, strike at +3 damage. If you're adding that with the +2 damage that you got from, where is it again? One of these, Preternatural Strength. Yeah, that's a lot of damage coming through and very scary. Now this has got allies. The Underbridge Stray. The Stray may burn 1 life to give a minion you control a press. So you can press to continue combat. During a D action direct attack, you may burn the Stray to unlock a ready minion you control. Very, very good. As above, but 2 life and 1 strength. So very good to use it to unlock if you don't have those other cards in hand. It's a last resort. Now we've got Retainers here. Murder of Crows doing more damage in combat. And Raven Spy allowing you to get the intercept. Yeah, +1 intercept. So you might want a few Raven Spies in there, maybe kick that number up. It's only 2, so the chance of seeing it percentage-wise is pretty low. So maybe a 3rd or even a 4th one, maybe depending on how reliant your meta is in regards to stealth. Cat's Guidance. Now these are the reaction cards. Now mind you, there's 25 reaction cards. That tells us that at some point we're going to be locked with our vampires, and we need the table to understand that whenever they come over, we're ready for them. Yeah, and that's what the reaction cards are. There's 25 in the deck out of 77 at the moment. That is huge. Now only usable by locked vampire. Unlock the vampire, and at advance gives them +1 intercept. We've got Guard Dogs there. Unlock the vampire with an optional maneuver at advanced. See a trend here. Instinctive Reaction +1 intercept, and with an optional maneuver at superior. On the QV, act as if untapped. Now we've got 5 of them. That might increase to 6 or 7. We want the table to know that they just cannot just come over and expect to get their things done. We've got some scary vampires and we're going to unlock whenever we need to and really smack them if we're not unlocked already, and protecting that. Protected District, here we go. Requires a Primogen, only usable during a bleed action against you or during the political polling step of a political action. Reduces the bleed amount by 3, or this vampire gains +3 votes against referendum. Now remember, you've only got one vampire in there, Belind, who's the Camarilla of Copenhagen. Camarilla Prince of Copenhagen. Let's just double check that. Yep, Camarilla Prince of Copenhagen. So, look, Protected District, it's the only... Oh, it requires a Primogen. Hang on, look at that. Did we miss something with the Primogen? Ah, there you go. The main vampire that you want to get out, Lenny, is also Primogen. I missed that, so apologies for that, as well as Larissa. So, even more so... Oh, great. The Dowager is also Primogen. So these top 3 are definitely the vampires that you want to get out, especially with cards that exist like this one. Yeah, there's 4 in the deck. Look, you're wanting to get one of these 3 vampires out, so it's a very viable deck. And then we've got the Warrens, only usable during an action directed at you, +2 intercept with an optional +1 if this Nosferatu is titled. So with all of them being Primogen and with 1 vote each, very, very good. So if we were changing things up and looking at the numbers and that, leaving the combat cards there, maybe leaving the retainers there and the reactions there, we're mainly looking at, for this deck, looking at what you want to do with the master cards, taking some out, adding some, hitting about 15 on the master cards, round about that, +1, -1, you'll be safe in that respect and you won't be too hand jammed unless you're very unlucky. And maybe looking at our actions and our action modifiers. Do we need any more intercept? Do we want any more stealth? One thing that this is missing, and I'll just go into this now. So let's go right back up to the top of the website. Let's click here for the library cards and let's look at equipment. If we're going to do actions and get stuff, they're giving us another way of winning. Okay, so let me just bring that to 100. Let's do 3 across. What things can we put into this deck to help us with another win condition? Yeah. Now we're going to stay away from combat. We've got this card here, which has been termed the Heart of Cheating in our group. The Heart of Nis-Chetas, or cheating. Alright, if the bearer is ready during your unlock phase, you can draw up to 3 cards without discarding, and then move the same number of those cards from your hand to the bottom of your library. So you get to get more and different cards in your hand, and then move ones that you possibly don't need right at the moment at the bottom of the library. Great card, unique, you're possibly going to be contesting it on a table, but this is the one I'm talking about. Laptop computer, not unique, and oh geez, we've only got 5 in stock. +1 bleed. Like, there's another card that I've been looking for, camera phone. It's not made anymore, but I'm thinking I'm going to get more laptop computers. Here I am writing them down. If I can find them, more laptop computers, because I think they're very viable for a lot of decks, especially decks that don't have natural bleed capacity, such as the Nos. Laptop computer fits in very well with the Nosferatu doing the whole information thing, and various clans coming to them as their information peddlers of of all the sects really, of Sabotage, Anarchs and Camarilla, even the Independents. So laptop computer fits very nicely in this deck. Is there any other things? I think Black Chantry and others are still to catch up with things that are still needed for various decks, but right at the moment it's a non-unique equipment, laptop computer. I would be putting these in the deck. I'd probably be looking at about 4 to put in the deck. Okay, all right, Amulet of Temporal Perception. Let's see, the vampire can burn 1 blood to play a card requiring Temporis. No, we're not playing Temporis. Okay guys, that is it for today with the Nosferatu deck. Okay, and so that is the Nosferatu deck and what I would be doing in regards to building a competitive deck that you turn up to like your local tournaments with. Yeah, so hopefully that made it nice and easy for you. I've spent a lot of time, money and resources to make sure that the site is user friendly for those who are playing Vampire, the Eternal Struggle. So please take a look at it and see how easy we've made it to actually make your decks. There'll be other ones coming up for the other 4 decks that came in the box on what we would do to actually add to them to make a competitive deck, okay? Have a great one, guys. If you've got any questions, throw them down in the comments. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts, and if you enjoyed it, please support us. Just follow the channel. It's a small click for you, but means a lot for us. Have a great one, guys. See you all.